Thanks for joining us today. Thank you to my colleagues and friends with the Minneapolis Black Employee Network in bringing together this Black History celebration and this acknowledgement for some of our folks that are doing strong work in the community. I am going to introduce some folks. Let me introduce myself first, I guess. My name is Robert Sayers. I'm a City of Minneapolis fire inspector who is a tenant navigator. We work hard for tenant rights that are mainly affecting a lot of Black and brown people in housing situations that are less than savory. But welcome, you folks. I'm telling you, we got a treat today. We got some local icons, friends, and people that I love dearly. I would like to invite our singers up. We have Miss Gwen Matthews, Mr. Giovanni Ford, and Sister Debbie Duncan.
Is my living in vain? Is my giving in vain? Is my praying in vain? Is my fasting in vain? Am I wasting my time? Can the clock be rewind? Have I let my light shine? Have I made 99? Oh, no! Of course not. It's not all in vain. 'Cause up the road is eternal gain. Is my praying in vain? Now is my labor in vain? Is my singing? Is my singing in vain? Is my singing in vain? Is my playing the organ in vain? Is my praying in vain? Is my labor in vain? Is my labor in vain? Is my singing in vain? Is my singing? Is my singing? Is my singing in vain? Of course not. I said no. Of course not. No. Of course not. It's not all in vain. It's not all in vain. It's not all in vain. 'Cause up the road is eternal. It's eternal. Is eternal.
by the impressions back in the day.
If you had a choice of colors, which one would you choose, my brothers? If there was no day or night, which one would you prefer to be right? If you had a choice of colors, which one would you choose, my brothers? If there was no day or night, which would you prefer to be right?
Oh, how long have you hated your white teacher? Who told you to love your black preacher? Do you respect yourself, woman's brother's friend, and share with white men and black men of your kin? Oh, people must rule to the people. A better day is coming for you and for me. And with a little more education and love
for a nation,
we'll make a better society.
If you had a choice
of colors,
which one would you choose, my brother? If there were no day or night, which one would you prefer to be right?
If you had a
Choice of colors,
which
one would you choose, my brother? If there were no day or night, which one you prefer to be right?
Oh, some of us would rather cuss and fuss and make this not so good a place to be.
But if you want to overcome, I believe someday you should only listen to what I have to say.
Of colors, which one would you choose, my brother? If there were no day or night,
which one you prefer to be right?
Yeah, one more time.
If you had a choice of colors, which one would you choose, my brother? If there were no day or night, which would you prefer to be right?
Yes.
If you had a choice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for starting us off. So welcome again to our third of 4 events in Black History Month. Next Thursday will be our final event. It'll be at noon, featuring a panel with Anika Bowie, Minneapolis NAACP, Reg Chapman, WCCO, Erica Coleman with CPED, Shannon Jones with Hope Community, and Marquita Stevens with the Urban League Twin Cities. The panel will be moderated by Council Vice President Andrea Jenkins. Our event series theme, if you haven't been to one of these already, is Activate, Empower, and Raise Your Voice. Thank y'all for bringing your voices to us today. I want to share a quick tidbit about Brother Giovanni Ford. I wanted to share his bio beforehand, but with the confusion of what we got going on, I missed it. Giovanni's the founder and executive director of the Network for the Development of Children of African Descent. Me and that brother have been working together for about 20 years on literacy programs for our children. It's a nonprofit family education center based in St. Paul, which actually, I take that back, it is now based in Minneapolis. It's back in Minneapolis. He holds a BS in Integrative Studies and is currently pursuing an MA in Education Policy and Organizational Leadership. Giovanni has worked in the fields of early childhood, K through 12 education for the past 35 years, specializing in program development, nonprofit management, and educational policy. He's been at the forefront of progressive education and community organizing. His work has been recognized nationally. He received numerous awards, including being named the 2012 White House Champion of Change under President Obama. Wanting to acknowledge, lift up our folks and their accomplishments. Many of us, and every single one of us, comes with gifts and talents. Thank you for bringing your gifts and talents here today. And we're going to move on to our keynote speaker. I would like to introduce Ms. Deborah Watts as our keynote speaker today. Deborah is the co-founder and president of the Emmitt Till Legacy Foundation. She is the cousin of Emmitt Lewis Till. Whose death at age 14 had a major impact on civil rights, on the civil rights movement. Deborah works with educators, policymakers, and faith and civic leaders around the world to continue the fight for justice and to combat the inequities that still prevail in our communities. She's an author, a philanthropist, an inspirational speaker who has received numerous recognitions, including the President's Lifetime Achievement and Volunteer Service Award, the Women's Leadership Coalition Inspiration Award, and the Outstanding Citizen Award from the City of Jackson. Ms. Deborah has also been honored by several organizations such as Essence Magazine, Outfront Magazine, Seton Hall University, and the White House. Ms. Deborah Till, thank you for blessing us with your presence.
First of all, thank you. It's both an honor and a privilege to be here today. I was telling Velma Corbel that I usually walk through the tunnel. I've never come through the front door. But it's an honor and a privilege to be here and to be able to share with you a little bit about my journey, our work, and also to congratulate those who are being honored today. I think this is wonderful that the city of Minneapolis has chosen Black History Month to highlight those individuals who have done some wonderful things here, because you know it doesn't happen very often, does it? And so I'd first like to thank the city of Minneapolis, the mayor, along with Velma Corbel, who is the executive director for the Department of Civil Rights, the staff that has been responsible for pulling this all together, and the Minneapolis Black Employees Network. Would you clap or just raise your hand? Who's celebrating wonderful 3 years of their existence. Also, Andrea Jenkins, who's the vice chair of the city council. And you know, for you to highlight these kinds of things this week, and for this month, I should say, and for the year, I think it is wonderful because it doesn't happen very often. Sharing the stories of those that are making a positive impact and are inspiring future generations is very important. It doesn't happen often, as I said. I'd like to also just bring into the room some people that it wouldn't be possible for me to be here without my team, Tiffany Washington, who worked closely with Velma, along with my daughter, Terry Watts, who's been my rock on almost everything that I've done. Terry, are you here somewhere? There she is, Terry, my daughter. I have 3 daughters, and they all are very, very special. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, wonderful. Okay, and my family and our board of directors and others who have been very supportive of this journey. And it's a hard journey. You know, this is a journey that is not a happy one. It's not one that's been smooth. It's not one that is full of love. It's full of a lot of pain. But I humbly and proudly stand before you as the daughter of Maddie and Doris, who adopted me, who was the daughter of Josephine Neal, who was the daughter of Maddie Smith, who was the daughter of Elizabeth Reese, born in 1863 in Hazelhurst, Mississippi. I call on the names and the rituals of our ancestors in this room today because from them we received a powerful blueprint for survival strategies and tactics of healing. And those things were carried across the oceans by African women, passed down to generations of Black women in America, and those who used their skills to navigate the institutions of slavery, state-sponsored discrimination, in order that I might stand here with you today, and for those honorees to be doing the work that they're doing. We walk in the footprints of women like Septima Clark, Ella Baker, Fannie Lou Hamer, Rosa Parks, Coretta Scott King, and I don't know if she's in the room today, but Josie Johnson, who's one of our local heroes. And there are many, many others, and I don't mean to dismiss them, but there are many others, and we just need to honor them. But I also stand on the shoulders of the mother of Emmitt Till, my cousin, Mamie Till Mobley. We learned from all of those women the power of organizing, sharing our stories, demonstrating our pain and our triumphs, telling all of the stories to people who would listen, and one who said, I'm tired of being sick and tired, and then also the mother of Emmitt, who shared the body of her 14-year-old son, her only son, to the world. She wanted everyone to know what hate looked like. All of those women were able to marry their passion with their purpose and make progress, like our honorees. They each were able to do their, which is the theme today, activate, right? Empower, and also raise their voices. Well, as we step forward, I want to make sure that we understand that it is our obligation as well to make sure that the world is a better place. Those courageous women, like Mamie, had some deep thoughts, and I want to share one of her quotes with you right now. It is not that I dwell on the past, but the past shapes the way we are in the present, and the way we will become what we are destined to become. It is only because I have finally understood the past and accepted it, embraced it, that I fully can live in the moment. And hardly a moment goes by when I don't think about Emmitt and the lessons a son can teach a mother. This is a quote that's in her book, The Death of Innocence, The Story of Hate and a Hate Crime That Changed America. Well, who was Emmitt Till? How many of you are familiar with Emmitt Till and the story there? Probably some of you that don't know who Emmitt was. He was born in Chicago on July 25th, 1941. He was the only child of Lewis and Mamie Till. He had a personality that would light up a room. He was the life of a party. He was a responsible young man who grew up in a large family. Our families had migrated from Mississippi to northern states like Illinois, Michigan, Nebraska, Minnesota, and other places. But he was raised in a small town in a town called, they call it Argo, but it's Summit. It's part of Summit, the south part of Chicago, a small town. But he was embraced by our family and loved. But Emmitt, in August of 1955, journeyed to from Chicago to Mississippi. Like many of us who migrated from the north, we went back home, right? How many of you have gone back home? Okay. And so he went back to visit relatives. He went with Uncle Mose, who was his great uncle. And he went there with other cousins and was just ready to have a wonderful time. And I'll tell you, with a young man who was meticulous in his dress, had a little swag about him, personality, he was ready for the South. He was ready, but not ready for the hate that he faced. He and some of my cousins went to the Bryant grocery store and meat market on a Sunday, a Friday, and they bought candy and gum, and as he was exiting the store, he whistled at the white store owner, Carolyn Bryant, now Carolyn Bryant Donham. We don't know why he whistled. It was a wolf whistle. And I know you'll hear stories where it was alleged that he whistled. Well, he did. My cousins later, after 30 years, were able to share the actual incident that occurred. But just think about this. For 30 years, no one ever interviewed them. There were a lot of stories that were written about him. There were movies that were made, and no one ever interviewed those who were witnesses. Well, that Sunday afternoon, early in the morning, around 2:30, there was a knock on the door, and two men came in, but there were other people on the outside of the door and of the house, and that was Mose Wright's home that they entered, and they kidnapped Emmitt. They made him put his shoes on, clothes on. He was in the bed with my cousin Simeon, and they kidnapped him. They took him around 30 miles through the Delta area in Mississippi. They beat him. They lynched him on the plantation in Jw, Mississippi. They eventually shot him in the head. They tied a barbed wire around his neck with a cotton gin fan, which was weighed at about 75 pounds. And they threw him in the Tallahatchie River. Now, it's hard to talk about this story over and over again, but it's one that we must understand and must know, because we never want anything like that to happen again. And for our family, it's important for us to share it so that we understand just how far we've come and just how far we need to go. Well, those two men were actually arrested, Roy Bryant and Jw Milam. They were the only two that were arrested for the murder of Emmitt Till. Fast forward, there was a jury that was established. It was an all-white jury, and the reason why it was an all-white jury, and we need to note this, is because there were about 30,000 people in the county. That was the population. 19,000 of them were African Americans, and 0% of them were registered to vote. So they could not sit on the jury. After the jury deliberated for about 67 minutes, they said, they decided that they could not convict Roy Bryant and Jw Milam. So later, though, Look magazine interviewed them, and William Bradford Huey was able to create this story, and they decided to embellish Emmitt's role, which they felt he was responsible for his death, and they embellished their reason for murdering Emmitt. So they confessed, and they were paid close to $4,000 for that interview. Well, Mamie Till Mobley, after hearing about the death of her son, decided, listen, you cannot bury him there. You need to bring him back to Chicago. So she made sure that she was able to identify Emmitt from head to toe, and it was Emmitt Till. Later, she decided to have an open casket funeral, as you probably are aware. And some of you, if anyone is here from Chicago or has grandparents, those in that next generation, they probably were able to see Emmitt's body. He had an open casket funeral, and close to 100,000 or more were able to view his body over the course of a few days. So Emmitt was buried, and for 47 years, Mamie Till Mobley, Emmitt's mother, sought justice. She fought for justice, never to receiving it. She died in 2003. The case was reopened in 2004. The body was exhumed because part of the defense was that it was not Emmitt's body, because this disfiguration and the way that his body was so mangled, being in the water for a long period of time, it didn't look like him. How many of you have seen the before and after pictures of Emmitt Till? If you haven't, please Google so you can really get a feel for what I'm talking about. Well, I'll tell you, this was the first time that our country decided that they would show something. This was the viral moment, if you will, in 1955. Think about it. A mother, her only son, decided the world needs to see this, and they did. So it was something that sparked the civil rights movement, as was said earlier, but it also enraged the country and those across the world. And they decided to activate, to empower themselves, and to speak up and to use their voices, as your theme is today. So the case was reopened, as I said, in 2004. It was, there was investigation that was done. A guy by the name of Keith Beauchamp, who is doing a movie right now called Till, the movie. He found evidence. He found about 14 other people that were involved in the murder, because there was a gang of people that terrorized him that night. It wasn't just Roy Bryant and Jw Milam. And so for all of these years, and we're on the anniversary of the 65th year. Can you believe it? 65 years and we're still trying to achieve justice. But that case in 2007 was closed. Joyce Childs, who was the DA at that time, decided that there was no evidence, not enough evidence to bring anyone to trial. But at that time, Jw Milam and Roy Bryant were no longer living. The person living was Carolyn Bryant, but they decided no charges were to be brought against her. Now, we were invited to Mississippi for an apology, not knowing that that apology that Tallahatchie County had issued to us was the beginning of an economic engine of tourism that they decided to use to somehow bring economy into one of the poorest counties in Mississippi. Can you imagine? So here we are standing there with this apology. I made a speech at the time at the front of the courthouse there, and a couple of my cousins said, "What you have in that speech, you need to change it, because we'll never make it out. Do you see the people lining the room? It's kind of like this today. Look around, turn around. You see, this is what was happening at the time when we were issuing the apology and accepting the apology, okay? But it's an economic engine now, that if you go to the Delta area in Mississippi, Tallahatchie County, Sunflower County, Drew, you can go on a tour of those 30-some miles. In fact, we will be hosting that on the 65th anniversary. So I'm not opposed, to the memory of Emmitt, but what I'm opposed to is the lack of justice. There's no justice in their efforts and in their mission. So when Emmitt's mother passed, there was, our family was pretty quiet about what was going on, and we thought, what should we do? And that's when a few of us, some of my other cousins and myself, and I decided, that I would start the Emmitt Till Legacy Foundation, because I promised her that Emmitt's death would not be in vain. But as I mentioned before, it's a struggle. But what we do with the Emmitt Till Legacy Foundation, we honor the memory and we try to preserve the legacy of Emmitt Till, because not only is there tragedy, there's also triumph. Because as we continue to fight for justice, as Emmitt's mother did, it's just us who can move things forward. It's just us who can activate, just us who can empower others, and just us who can raise our voices for justice for Emmitt. I'd like to share with you an inspirational quote that Mamie said at the unveiling of the Civil Rights Memorial in November of 1989. And we were there to witness her as they unveiled the monument that was built in Montgomery, Alabama. And this became the mission of our organization, the early form of the mission of our organization. And she said, "We cannot afford the luxury of self-pity. Our top priority now is to get on with the building process. My personal peace has come through helping boys and girls reach beyond the ordinary and strive for the extraordinary. We must teach our children to weather the hurricanes of life, pick up the pieces, and rebuild. We must impress upon our children that even when troubles rise to 7.1 on life's Richter scale, they must be anchored so deeply that though they sway, they will not topple." That was inspired by her at the time when that unveiling occurred. Well, I'm going to be wrapping up here, but I just want to say thank you to the organization. Also, to have you take a look at what we're doing on Instagram, on Facebook, and Twitter. We're rebuilding our website right now, Emmitt Till Legacy Foundation. Also, we will be introducing a bill, hopefully, on the for moving forward for families of victims of racially motivated murders. There's really nothing on the books for those families like ours right now. So we have a federal law that we're trying to put forward. And then we also have one that we're going to put forward in Minnesota. It's called the Emmitt Lewis Till Victims Recovery Act. We will be honoring Emmitt with a weekend of activities in Mississippi. We'd like for you to join us. It's called the Emmitt Lewis Till 65th Anniversary Commemoration. And soon you'll be seeing us launch a Justice for Emmitt Till campaign. So feel free to join us. Look for the movies, look for the books that are going to be written soon. And then I'd like at the end of this for us to take the Never Again pledge, of which I brought a few with me. And we can do that at the end. We could do that at the end and take a photo. And if I could get somebody to read this. Young people, with our efforts, we always include the next generation. And they were able to come up with this logo and also this pledge. And the pledge is, you want me to read it? Okay. "I pledge to never again allow the ugly parts of our past history to become the present. I will forever stand up against racism, hatred, injustice, and crimes against our youth. I will always stand up for peace, justice, and equality for all. Never again." And so if you'd like to take a photo with this sign, we'd love to get that for you. We usually do it as a group, but I know I'm trying to wrap up with time here. But again, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to share my story. And I'd like to have us all congratulate those that are being honored today with a round of applause and also a prayer for them to continue forward to activate, empower, and use and raise your voices. Thank you so much. Thank you.
My energy's been jacked up since I got out of bed this morning, y'all. Which makes me think of a depiction that we've seen in the Year of Learning around racial healing. This photograph is of the United States and where all the tribes were across the United States, our indigenous brothers and sisters. So in that, let me acknowledge that we stand and are sitting on stolen land of the Dakota at this moment. And this country being built on stolen labor of ours. I stand here proud to be a City of Minneapolis employee who has found a voice to also push back against the same structure that I work for, encouraging us all to be better and encouraging us all to be our full selves and not have to leave a part of ourselves at the door when we enter. So as proud as I am, I was for almost 17 years a Minneapolis firefighter, for about 5 years now, fire inspector. So as proud as I am of the work that I do with a badge on, I'm just as proud. To wear the African American Liberation flag. Every day I come my whole self. That has not always been the case, but today it is the case. There's a lot of folks in the city, y'all, doing good work. From the inside of government structures which were not put in place or established for us. I'd like to recognize some folks that I still see. Councilmember Cam Gordon here, Sister Andrea Jenkins, Council Vice President Andrea Jenkins, and History Maker 2019, Chief Arredondo was out here. I don't know if he's still with us or not. But I absolutely do want to acknowledge Brother Arredondo, who I've known since I was 10 years old. So thank you for being here. We need to move into our, actually, we got more song coming. So I know we're running behind, but come on up, Jim.
Frederick Douglass says, he said, no struggle, no progress. Something special about black folk. Struggle, joy. Somehow, the greater the struggle, we take that struggle and transform it into joy. Look at your neighbor. Look at your neighbor and tell him, I see the joy in spite of the struggle. Look at somebody else and tell him, I see the joy in the face of the struggle. And we know the source of that joy. Jesus, you're the center of my joy. All that's good and perfect comes from you. You're the heart of my contentment, hope for all I do. Jesus, you're the center of my joy. When I've lost my direction, you're the compass for my way. You're the fire and light when nights are long and cold. In sadness, you are the laughter that shadows all my fears when I'm all alone. Your hand is there to hold. Oh, Jesus, you're the center of my joy. All that's good and perfect, it comes from you, yeah. Oh, you're the heart of my contentment. Hope for all I do. Oh, Jesus, you're the center of my joy. Oh, you are why I find pleasure in the simple things in life. You're the music in the meadows and the streams. Oh, the voices of my children, my family, and my home. You're the source and finish of my highest dreams. Oh, Jesus, you're the center of my joy. All that's good and perfect, it comes from you. Oh, you're the heart of my contentment. Hope for all I do. Jesus, you are the center of my joy. Oh, Jesus, you're the center of my joy. Oh, Jesus, you're the center of my joy. You're everything, everything. You're my joy in my sorrow. You're my hope for tomorrow when I'm lonely and I'm feeling sad. You are the lifter of my head. Jesus, you're the center of my joy. Jesus, you're the center of my joy. The center of my joy.
And let the church say amen. Oh, Lord. All right, amen. Woo. I'm activated now. Got some people shouting over here. I'm Velma Corbel. I'm the Director of Civil Rights for the city, executive sponsor for the Black Employee Network. My pronouns are she and her. I have the privilege of sharing a quote from you from the Honorable Congressman John Lewis that was part of Deborah's talk today. and we couldn't let the day go by without sharing these words with you. And Congressman Lewis, who you know is having really the battle of his life, I don't know, maybe the second battle of his life, because we all saw what happened to him on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. He said, when you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, we have a moral obligation to do something, say something. Our children and their children will ask us, what did you do? What did you say? But we have a mission and a mandate to be on the right side of history. So we're about to present some awards this afternoon to a group of people who are definitely on the right side of history. Our History Maker program has been in place in the city of Minneapolis. This is our 5th anniversary. The partnership between the Civil Rights Department and the Black Employee Network started in 2017 when the Black Employee Network was created by resolution of the Minneapolis City Council. We have honored several dozen Black leaders in Minnesota and around the Twin Cities over these last 5 years. And this group that we are about to honor today is no less stellar than all the others that came before them. And I am just privileged to be able to share the stage with them this afternoon and present these awards. I am going to ask Rob to come back up. He's going to help me. I'm going to move over to the awards table. We've got some mini bios that we're going to share for every one of our history makers at home. If you like what you've learned, like what you see, you can also nominate a history maker at home. Starting this fall, we'll open up nominations again for our 2021 cohort. But today, I need y'all to listen to these bios, because these are some bad brothers and sisters. They are bad, okay. I'm gonna move over here.
They want me to read their bios? Okay. Unfortunately, I don't think our first award recipient on here is here. Is Dr. Brittney Lewis here? I have not seen her yet. I am not going to skip her bio, though. That sister's doing a ton of important work, some of which I had the honor in joining her in some of her study around redlining and housing and evictions in the city of Minneapolis. Dr. Brittney Lewis is a qualitative scholar, thought leader, author, and national speaker. She's the founder and CEO of Research in Action, an urban research, strategy, and engagement firm, and is currently a senior research associate at the Center for Urban and Regional Affairs, otherwise known to a lot of us as CURA, at the University of Minnesota. Dr. Lewis served as the principal investigator for the report Illusion of Choice, Evictions and Profit in North Minneapolis, and was a co-principal investigator on the recently published report The Diversity of Gentrification, Multiple Forms of Gentrification in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Dr. Lewis has testified before the Minnesota State Legislature, and her research has been used in a Minnesota Supreme Court case to expand rights for tenants facing eviction. I don't know if y'all know how big a deal that is. I learned how big a deal that is. I got a phone call from one of the attorneys on that case. About 3 times in 30 years has that ever happened. Her work also informs the agendas for Hennepin County and the city of Minneapolis, and her expertise has been featured in documents such as the Jim Crow of the North and A Fiery Unrest, Why Plymouth Avenue Burned. Dr. Brittney Lewis. Our next award recipient, Tracy Williams Dillard. Tracy is the CEO and publisher of the Minnesota Spokesman Recorder, the oldest Black-owned newspaper in Minnesota and one of the longest-standing family-owned newspapers in the country. She carries on the beliefs and values. Sorry, y'all, something's mixed up. The beliefs and values of her grandfather, the late Cecil E. Newman, who founded the newspaper in 1934. Tracy has served on several local boards, including the Boys and Girls Club, the Minneapolis NAACP, Southside Community Collaborative, African American AIDS Project, Twin Cities African American Leadership Forum, TPT Television, and Global Women's Network. She is also the founder of the Sister Spokesman, a professional development group for women of color. Accolades go on, y'all. And she helped launch the annual graduation celebration, A Family Affair, which honors graduating seniors of African and African American descent and their families. Ms. Tracy Williams Dillard. Our next award recipient, Dr. Artie Container. Dr. Artie Container is a passionate educator, author, speaker, and advocate for justice. She serves as a law professor and is the founding director of the Center on Race, Leadership, and Social Justice at the University of St. Thomas. She provides career development coaching for young professionals and teaches coursework on ethics, critical reflection, and organizational development. Her research focuses on diversity and inclusion, community development, and civil rights. Dr. Tyner also serves as a global citizen by supporting education, entrepreneurship, the Women's Leadership Initiatives in Africa. She holds a BA from Hamline University, as well as a law degree, graduate degree, and doctorate from the University of St. Thomas. Dr. Artie Tyner. Dr. LaPrincess Brewer is our next award recipient. Dr. Brewer is an assistant professor in the Department of Cardiovascular Medicine at Mayo Clinic, and she's the first female African American cardiologist on the Mayo Clinic Rochester staff. Dr. Brewer's research focuses on disparities in heart health, particularly among African Americans, with an emphasis on community-based interventions. Dr. Brewer's work has been featured on both local and national media outlets, including ABC, CBS, PBS, CNN, and the Huffington Post. She is also the recipient of several prestigious awards from the National Institutes of Health, Harvard Medical School, and the American Society of Preventive Cardiology. Dr. Brewer earned her BS from Howard University, an MD from George Washington University, and a Master of Public Health from Johns Hopkins University. Dr. Brewer, y'all. We've got a tandem to introduce. We got Dr. Verna Cornelia Price and brother Shane Price. Dr. Price and brother Shane are the founders of the Power of People Leadership Institute, an organization that provides leadership development and mentoring to local youth, as well as men and women who have been incarcerated. Dr. Price is an author and human potential expert specializing in personal power, leadership, and change. She is the CEO of the Power of People Consulting Group and a co-founder of the undergraduate leadership minor at the University of Minnesota. Dr. Price has also been named an Everyday Hero by Ebony Magazine, Entrepreneur of the Year by the National Black MBA Association, and Pioneer of the Year by Women Venture. Thank you, brother and sister Price. Brother Shane is the director of the Replanting Program and founder of Out and Poppin', the largest re-entry group in the state of Minnesota. He has provided personal development and leadership training to over 5,000 men across five state correctional facilities and has worked with the Hennepin County African American Men Project for over 17 years. Brother Shane has been recognized by several organizations, including Minneapolis Public Radio as a 2019 Changemaker and Instructor of the Year by Faribault Correctional Facility in 2006. Twin Cities Workplace Ministries honored Brother Shane with the Kingdom of Life Award for his passion, leadership, and commitment to healing our communities. Brother Shane. Houston White Jr. is our next recipient. Houston is the owner of H. White Men's Room in North Minneapolis and the creator of the Black Excellence Movement and the HWMR lifestyle brand. His entrepreneurial career began at the age of 12 and has grown over the years to include professional barbershops, a line of grooming products, apparel design, retail, and home construction. Brother, I should have wore one of your sweatshirts or t-shirts today. Now that I think about it, I got a few of those. Apparel design, retail, and home construction. He's owner of H. White Custom Homes, which has remodeled over 25 houses and built 20 new homes in Minnesota. His successes as a business owner and entrepreneur has allowed him to use his platform to elevate the Black Excellence Movement and engage our community in new and powerful ways. Houston acts as a mentor to local youth and is a founder of the HWMR Scholarship Fund for Future Entrepreneurs. Brother Houston White Jr. Y'all want to sing us out?
And so unselfishly, they don't bother me. So I'm gonna keep on giving you the best that I've got. Baby, they don't bother me. So I'm gonna keep on giving you the best that I've got. Listen, baby. Somebody understands me. Somebody gave his heart to me. I stumbled my whole life long. Now I'm strong. Ooh, when a weary mind is arrested, and I feel as if my home is in your arms, yeah. Fears are all gone, I like the sound of your song, and I think I'm gonna sing it forever. Ooh. We love so strong, and so unselfishly. And I'll tell you now that I made a vow. Yeah.
I bet everything on my wedding ring, yeah, giving it to you. Oh, giving you the best that I've got, yeah, you, we gotta give our best to each other, yes we do. You gotta love one another, yeah, yeah. You gotta love each other, love each other, love each other. Oh, yeah. Giving you the best that I've got. Giving you the best, giving you the best, giving you the best that I've got. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, I want to thank our performers, congratulate our award winners. Say before you leave, if you haven't seen it already, don't forget that we've got the Minnesota Spokesman Recorder celebrating 85 years, and we have an exhibit between City Hall and Hennepin County through the tunnel. Listen, join us too. We've got Afro Deli has catered food, so we've got food around the corner. Thank you for joining us. Be blessed.